How's it, everyone? Welcome back to another string review right here on OpenCourt. I'm Kent, and today I'm testing out the newest string by Solinco. You guys probably already know what it is. It's a lot of reviews have already been released on this string. I live in Hawaii, and it was very difficult for me to get a hold of these strings from the online retailers. The shipping was just ridiculous, and the local shops here didn't stock it until finally I got a set from my local shop here. And so today we're taking a look at the Solinco Mach 10. Let's check it out. So first, I'd like to give a quick shout out to that aforementioned local tennis shop here, On Point Sports. I go there for all of my tennis related needs. They have a huge variety of tennis and pickleball gear. If you guys are ever in Hawaii, check out On Point Sports. They are going to stock the official version of the Solinco Mach 10 very soon. So you guys have probably seen on the internet, Solinco has kind of done a preemptive release of the Mach 10 in this demo package here. It's released under the name called Unreleased 4.0. They've actually been working on this string for many years, and obviously this is 4.0, so there are previous versions of this string. The local shop, On Point Sports, doesn't have it on sale at the moment of filming this video, and I stopped by their shop and they just gave me this set when I asked if they had the newest Solinco string. So thank you so much again. And I can finally demo this string. I've been trying to get it, but the shipping to Hawaii, it actually costs more than the string itself. It's like $25, $30 just to ship one set of string, and I really wasn't willing to pay for that. So it was a blessing that On Point had a set of the Unreleased 4.0 to let me try. So Solinco, obviously, you guys know them, you love them. I love Solinco tennis strings. I've tried every single Solinco string, at least all of the polys, and the Tour Bite is still my favorite Solinco string. This string is supposed to play quite differently, as far as I know, from Tour Bite, Hyper-G, and Confidential. Solinco has said that they're trying to separate from their so-called big three. So a few things about this string. One set of this is going to run you about $13.99, and it comes in 4 gauges, 115, 120, 125, and 130. And Solinco, all of their strings tend to have a wide range of gauges, which is good because the thicker you go, the more durability control you'll have, and the thinner you go, the more spin, feel, and power you'll have. And I think that caters to a wider variety of players when you have so many gauge options. This string is pentagonal, 5-sided, meant to grip the ball, provide a lot of spin. That's nothing new for Solinco. Tour Bite, Hyper-G, Confidential, all of those strings are shaped. In fact, I think the Solinco Outlast is their only round poly. So the main selling point of the Solinco Mach 10 is something that Solinco calls cloud form. It's a softening chemical agent that is meant to make the string play more comfortably and more powerfully without sacrificing playability and tension maintenance. Usually a soft string will stretch a lot faster than a stiffer string, but Solinco's cloud form is supposed to prevent that premature stretching and loss of tension. And that's the main reason why a lot of advanced players don't like soft strings as much. It's because once the string stretches and the tension falls off a cliff, their balls are going to be flying along all over the place, and Solinco has aimed to solve that problem with their cloud form technology. Alright, so I'm super excited to finally try out this new Solinco Mach 10. I've been searching for it for a few weeks now, so I'm going to string it up in my Speed Pro. This is my 1821, and I'm going to string it probably 53 pounds. I usually go 54, but this string is supposed to be a little bit softer, and this is a tighter pattern, so I want to get a little bit more control. So 53, we're gonna get on the court and we're gonna try the Solinco Mach 10. But before that, if you guys like this content and wanna see more, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button to keep the reviews coming. So let's start with the pros of the Solinco Mach 10. Solinco aimed to bridge the gap between Tour Bite and Hyper-G with this string, as most players think Tour Bite is too stiff and Hyper-G is too soft. I personally wouldn't classify Hyper-G as soft, but it is a bit mushy to me. Tour Bite is still one of my favorite polys, and I like the stiffness and crisp response. So my biggest worry with the Mach 10 was if Solinco was going to mute the feeling a bit. I'm happy to report that the Mach 10 is actually quite crisp and lively, and I believe Solinco got it right. Mach 10 definitely feels like it lands right in between Tourbite and Hyper-G in terms of the feel and comfort. The reason I like crisp and lively strings is because the feel of a crisp string makes me feel more connected to my shots, and that gives me confidence to go for high-risk shots from any position on the court. That is the key with any tennis equipment. If it gives you confidence to play your game, it's probably right for you. I felt I could go for my touch and finesse shots with the Mach 10 just as well as with Tourbite. In fact, I would say I can hit touch and angle volleys with the Mach 10 better than Tourbite because Mach 10 pockets the ball slightly better. I would say Tourbite is better from the baseline because the stiffness and the crisp pop gives me better control and confidence on full aggressive ground strokes. But the ball seems to sit on the Mach 10 slightly longer, which allows me to redirect my angle volleys toward the sidelines and also gauge my strength better when hitting droppers. I found the most success with the Mach 10 at the net. This was great news for me as I am primarily a serve and volleyer and doubles player, so I spend a lot of time at net. Usually I prefer a string that helps my ground strokes because that is my weaker area, but I'm not going to complain if a string makes my volleys better. The pocketing really made my net game come alive. I could punch through volleys through the gaps and angle them off for drop shot winners pretty consistently. I also found a lot of success on my approach volley. The pocketing of the string bed allowed me to seamlessly transition from the baseline to the net because I was always able to keep the volley low and cross court with the Mach 10. Overheads also came off the strings with good power because of the added bounce in the strings. Usually if a string has too much bounce, I end up hitting drop shots a little high or deep, but I never found any difficulty with my touch, and that surprised me. I also found the Mach 10 to be a superb string when it came to serving because of the aforementioned pocketing, as well as the control and spin the strings naturally provided. I could hit my flat, slice, and kick serves with pretty good command, and that allowed me to hold my service games pretty easily. The flat serve is typically where I struggle most with the Speed Pro because of the tight string pattern. I usually hit flat serves into the net, but the Mach 10's pocketing gave me a slight boost in power that helped me to clear the net at a higher rate than usual. On the slice, the pocketing also helped clear the net with my low gliding serve, but it also provided some nice curving action in midair. The slice flat hybrid serve I've been using a lot recently was also reliable, especially if I was able to get it into the outside corner. And of course, my bread and butter is the kick serve, and this string was awesome for that as well. I could really feel the strings displacing as I took an aggressive cut upwards and the ball would dive down with force. Because the strings are a bit softer than something like Tourbite, the strings stretch and snap back more aggressively, which leads to easier spin and net clearance. I rarely faulted into the net with my kick serve. If I did, it was usually because of a bad toss. Of course, the Mach 10 with its shaped profile also grips the ball really well on slices. I could really feel the pocketing on my backhand slice when I pushed through the point of contact. The strings gripped the ball so the ball sat on the strings and I could push slices deep and keep them low. It was really easy for me to approach the net after a slice or transition back to offense after a defensive slice. Speaking of defense, I really like the Mach 10 on defense because of the feel, pocketing, and power. The feel allows me to place defensive shots where I want, and the pocketing and power allows me to keep the ball deep with pace so I'm not stuck in defense mode for too long. My running forehands had decent pace and depth, and my stretched backhand returns also had some decent pace. When I was playing doubles, I never had any issues keeping the backhand return away from the net player. This string was very reminiscent of the Headlinks Tour in terms of the feel and pocketing. It also felt very similar to the ReString Vivo, which I tested recently. I also really like the stiffness level. For me, the Mach 10 is perfect. Not too stiff, but not too mushy. It lands right in between Tourbite and Hyper-G, and I found I never had any twinge in my elbow on off-center hits, even in my 18-20 speed. Tension maintenance is also exceptional for a shaped string. And lastly, the Mach 10 has many gauge options, which I've always appreciated about Solinco. Players with more aggressive swings that break strings often can use the 130 for more durability, control, and tension maintenance. For those looking for more power, feel, and spin can go really thin. Doubles players who approach the net often will probably like the thinner gauges like I did. Next up, let's get into the cons of the Solinco Mach 10. I really didn't have too many lingering issues with this string, and the cons I have can be mitigated by either changing the tension or the string gauge. But the main issue I had with the Mach 10 was a lack of control outside the sweet spot on full swings. This is a common issue I encounter with many aggressively shaped strings. Even with the other Solinco strings, I noticed the strings got stuck out of place many times when I caught the ball outside the sweet spot, and that affected the control I need for my aggressive ground strokes. This is the reason I preferred this string at net more, where I have a very compact swing and all I really do is punch the ball. I believe if I used a thicker gauge, the strings would have had less displacement and probably would result in better control on aggressive swings. I wouldn't classify myself as a really advanced player, but I am rated a USTA 4.5, and with my swing, I sailed a lot of my aggressive forehand returns long because I caught it outside the sweet spot. This is mostly noticeable in the beginning when the edges of the strings are still sharp. I noticed I had to fix the strings a lot during the initial warm-up and first set I played, but as the playtest wore on, this became less of a problem. I also noticed the launch angle was really high at times, and this was somewhat inconsistent. Sometimes I could get the ball to stay low over the net, and at other times my return would fly past the baseline. The area where I struggled most with the Mach 10 was on my short approach shots. I really had to hit the ball down, otherwise it would sail long. This is another issue I could solve with a thicker gauge. This launch angle inconsistency made it difficult for me to trust my baseline game at times, which is why I tried to approach the net as much as I could with this string. But that's about it. Honestly, the inconsistent launch and strings getting stuck are just a byproduct of aggressively shaped strings. The Mach 10 is crisp, lively, powerful, and spin-oriented, just the way I like it. My issues can be mitigated by using the thicker gauge like a 125 gauge and using a hybrid setup with a smooth and crisp cross string which will let the Mach 10 snap back better. So that's what I'll try if I use this string again. So who is the Solinco Mach 10 for? It's for fans of Solinco like me. Honestly, I know the tennis community is pretty split when it comes to Hyper-G and Tour Bite. I believe the Mach 10 is a solid middle ground and provides the best of both worlds. If you are an aggressive baseliner who wants spin and control, use this in the thicker gauge. If you are a net player and likes more touch and finesse, try the thinner gauge. I honestly believe the Mach 10 is a string that any intermediate to advanced player can use provided your arm is healthy enough to handle the crisp vibrations. So my final verdict on the Mach 10 is this. I loved it and would love to try it in a hybrid with Hyper-G round in the cross. It's hard to say after just a couple weeks of hitting with it, but the Mach 10 may now possibly be my favorite Solinco poly above Tour Bite because of the feel and pocketing it provides at net. So now let me hear your thoughts on the Mach 10. Have you tried it? Do you like it more than Tour Bite, Hyper-G, and the rest? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next review. Thank you for watching this review of the Solinco Mach 10 right here on OpenCourt. If you guys like this content, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an OpenCourt.